I mean, these are young, beautiful people. I guess they're not people. I mean, they don't
avatars, right? That's probably the right.
All the avatars are young and beautiful. They don't put anybody hit with the ugly stick on there. That's for sure.
Yeah, none of these people look like me. That's for sure. If you're not getting educated about local and national real estate market conditions, news, the direction of the economy, and all the noise that's out there so you can help consumers, you're doing yourself and your client base a disservice. This is the Knowledge Brokers Podcast. I'm Tom Toole, here with Byron Lazine and Lisa Chinatti, and we have got a boatload of topics today. We're going to be leading with the new Remax Pepsi rebrand. This is very exciting. I don't know if anyone ever got Pepsi points when they were a kid. We're going to talk about that. Byron,
oh my gosh.
Yes.
That was my childhood, was going after Pepsi points.
Love it. We're also going to be talking about PCE data. Just came out on target. The Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas came out and spoke about real home prices, and there was a great Lambert tweet about Elon Musk and Donald Trump and what they're doing with DOGE and how that might affect the market. But let's talk about Remax. I got to start with this. So you were talking to Gary Ashton, Byron, when he was at R4 this week. I did not go. I spoke to Jay Pitts, a good friend of ours. Both, Gary Ashton, #1 team with Remax forever. Jay Pitts has got a top 10, top 15 team, a great organization. And the intel I got, and there's been like a lot of backlash about this. I mean, people are like, why did they rebrand? What's going on? What I heard from Jay is that that's exactly the reaction Remax wanted, so people would be talking about them. I'm really annoyed I got to buy all these new signs in a couple years because that's like a whole cost. What do you guys think about this logo?
No. We want to know what you think about it. You've been at Remax for what, 20 plus years?
Only company I've worked for.
Only company you've ever worked for.
That's rare.
That's super rare.
I don't split chase. I focus on my business. Thank you, Lisa.
And you've had Remax has built a ton of entrepreneurial mindset, phenomenal real estate agents, real estate professionals across the country for years. You mentioned Gary Ashton in Nashville, Jay Pitts in Louisville.
Yes,
Jay?
Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah,
Louisville, Kentucky. I was texting with Jordan Cohen, who's I think for the 7th time was named #1 solo agent for Remax worldwide. He's obviously Beverly Hills, got a great business himself, and so Remax, and there's many other friends that we have Remax across the country, has built this extremely entrepreneurial real estate professional over decades. You've been with the company your entire career. That's 20 plus years. What's your take on the new logo, Tom?
Sure. Well, I spoke to my dad about this. He owns our firm. He's one of the original broker owners from the 1980s. So he's been with them since their inception. And my first problem I have with this is that I got to buy all these new signs. That really
problems.
Yeah. Well, it's a fixed cost. You get these signs made. You buy these luxury signs. These things are not cheap, right? So you got to rebrand all those. I like the new font. I think it looks a little better. I also like they got rid of the slash because when I get contracts in on our properties and people try to spell our brokerage name, they always forget the slash. They don't capitalize it all the time. Like it's silly stuff like that. I mean, a logo's a logo. If it gets people talking, great. You know what I'm focused on, Byron? Listing and selling property right now, and that's the name of the game. So I'm. This is like a non-stop. I mean, great if it gets people talking about it, cool. I didn't really have a problem with the last logo. Now it is a very recognizable logo, like the hot air balloon. I mean, you see that at baseball stadiums, right? Like the Philadelphia Phillies are a sponsor in San Francisco, the new San Francisco Giants. It's right on their scoreboard there. So Remax has done a really good job getting branding with a lot of the national sports teams, which I think is great. I like that. I remember when the Eagles used to have that in their background at the press conferences, and I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. And I think people do recognize the logo.
Do you think they're going to recognize the new one at the same rate, though?
That's where I'm going. I don't think it looks like a hot air balloon anymore. Like I said, it looks like a Pepsi logo or like a Google map pin.
Right.
And I don't drink soda anymore, so that doesn't really get me that excited. I mean, I think Coke's probably a superior soda to Pepsi, which is a whole other debate. So I like the hot air balloon. I don't like messing with things that are working. I'm a big run plays that work. So it makes it a little less recognizable. And I think that's something that maybe will hurt branding. But overall, shouldn't stop anyone's business. I wouldn't get too worked up about it.
Yeah, there was a lot of love in comments on X and and on Instagram and other places for the 1978. We'll put these on the screen. They have 78, 2005, 2017, and now
I saw that one.
yeah, the retro 1978, and I was like, yeah, that is kind of corny but cool in a way.
Yeah, the
19
angled balloon, and it said above the crowd underneath. It was, I mean, that was
yeah, and
there forever.
it's got a little bit of shine to it. It's, I don't know, it's kind of cool. Like this one, the one that I would say is confusing is taking the name off the logo. And I've seen it. I would agree with you. It does look like a map pin, but I've seen it, like on the side of Remax in black. And then instead of the slash, you can put yourself in the middle. There's, I think, what a bunch of people are doing, a bunch of Remax. But the problem is if you just have what is now a more modern version of what the balloon used to be, I guess, and it doesn't have the words Remax next to it, my eyes automatically say Pepsi. And it looks like a map pin of Pepsi. Pepsi points were like a huge part of my childhood. I mean, I had the Pepsi fanny pack on the front of my bag. I used to fill it up with, I used to go down to the general store in my
You stole a bunch
neighborhood.
of Pepsi. You didn't buy them. I mean, Byron was a hoodlum as a child.
I kind of was, and I used to fill that up with all kinds of different things.
Do you remember the scandal, kind of totally a squirrel, but the scandal with the Pepsi points and the guy who figured out how to hack it to buy the fighter jet?
You had a scandal there, and you had a scandal with the McDonald's
Yep, totally.
monopoly too. Yeah.
Yep.
I actually thought I was going to, drink enough Pepsi at some point to get everything, but that wasn't the case. I got as far as the fanny pack.
What's this?
I don't know, Bobby's. Oh, what is this, Bobby? This is me telling old stories of the early 1990s. Thank you. Okay. Anyways, here's what I'll say, and we got a bunch to get, so we'll move on. But here's what I will say about the Remax brand. Remax is in a place right now where they do need to maybe reimagine culture from a national brand agent attraction standpoint. There's great teams across the country, like Tom, your operation.
Thank you.
Or offices that are attracting agents into the processes that they have, the training, the lead flow, all of the infrastructure that you've built up that others have built up at Remax is attracting agents in particular local markets. But there's not this new feel, this Compass feel. I know Compass, obviously, some of that has to do with obviously bonuses like a CB, or the new models out there. Think Real or newer Real and EXP, which we got to stop saying new because they're no longer new models. But this new brand, if it attracts agents, it's a good thing. The question is, does it attract agents? Because if it doesn't, it only costs your operators like Tom more money as a fixed cost in their business to keep up with the new brand. So agents will go to like a company, like they'll say, I just love the look and the feel of the brand, and I love it so much, and I love the signs. Like agents, as crazy as that sounds, that you'll like colors and signs and branding, there are agents that do make decisions on that. Tom, agent reactions, like in your office, do you think it's going to help with agent attraction, modernizing the logo?
No, I don't. I mean,
yeah, I don't either.
People are looking for tangible things that are going to help their business. And, whether that's a way to, generate more business, training opportunities, lead flow opportunities. I mean, that seems to be what people are looking for right now, how to get better, how to sell more houses.
There's been a lot of studies about that, right?
Yeah.
There's been some surveys that have come out, and I don't think brand or feel have ever actually even registered. So,
well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, there's one company that is like, you look at their office meetings across the country when they post like everybody's merched out. Like everybody's wearing their merch.
But do agents go there for that, or do they go there for the downline, for the higher split, the low cap, the
I,
ability to?
I'd say it's part of it. Now, I wouldn't say it's the reason. I wouldn't say it's a deciding factor. But when you're bundling it all up, and there's that I don't know, it plays into culture where everybody is. It's like peak KW days on how well the Kool-Aid tastes. It is high level
But I think the
Kool-Aid
word that
sharing.
you used there, though, is actually spot on. It's the culture, it's not the brand, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that that's a really interesting word that you put in
But
there.
well, the wearing of the logo, which isn't necessarily, Mark Davison would kick me right now. Like, a logo is not brand. I
Right.
know, Mark. I know. But my point is, everybody wearing that continues to put it out there. Like I've thought a lot about. I wear the same things all the time: black button downs and blue button downs, basically, or polos or whatever. I've thought a lot. It's like, should I be wearing? I want to drive people to nowbam.com. So should I be wearing nowbam.com on
See,
a t-shirt or
I mean,
something all the time? Because I'm in video. So should I be registering that?
I look at this a lot differently because, what should agents be focused on, right? They should be focused on listing and selling property. And I don't know that it goes over well if I show up in a t-shirt with my company's name on it, interviewing to help someone with a large financial asset. That's my view. You guys know how I feel about this. Like, and some of these other markets maybe is a little different. The Northeast, I don't think that flies. Lisa, I'd love to hear your take on this. Um, their brand can get you in the door. The agent meeting is what gets you hired, because there's good and bad agents at all these different companies here, but the consumer is asking questions like, what are you going to do? What's your strategy? What do things look like? All these other things that are happening. So I don't know that's brand can help you, but you, as the agent, you got to be the one that's converting, if that makes sense.
Uh,
I agree.
I think that's kind of
Yeah.
what it looks like more than anything else.
To me, national brand means very little on
Mhm.
a homeowner making a decision on who they're going to list with. A homeowner is mostly influenced by, if they're making a decision on what we're going to call brand, they're going to make a decision on, I see predominantly these signs, these 1, 2, or 3 company signs in my market. And so I want to interview 1, 2, or 3 of the agents that come to mind from those brands, because a seller, if everybody else is going in that direction. So if you're in a market that is dominated by a Remax, that can play into, how many opportunities you get from an interview standpoint for those sellers. When I was my first, I've only been 2 different brands myself. My career, Tom's only been 1. I've only been 2. I was with a Sotheby's affiliate first 5 years, and the town that we were in, we were going after, riverfront and Long Island Sound front in Old Lyme. We were going after a lot of the waterfront properties. It's a unique town in Connecticut where you have riverfront, Connecticut River, and Long Island Sound. The only other town would be Old Saybrook. There's only 2 towns in Connecticut that have that feature. And so we'd be going after these waterfront listings. And because our office had so much of that inventory, I was getting opportunities just because of that brand that other agents were not getting. It was a factor. So kind of wrapping up the Remax conversation, that sign affiliation. Now, if you're going to have 2-3 year period with all these different signs out there, or trying to kind of reimagine the brand into this new version, that can maybe hold some of that back. Maybe.
I find this. I think there are brands that dominate, especially in like the high end. I think you got to be mindful of that too. I mean, there's when you look at the sales stats, obviously it's a lot different, but I think the brand does help a little bit in that arena.
And I think what I'll add as the kind of final wrap up is more on the list side than the buy side. I think
Yes.
buyers are 10 times more brand agnostic. They don't care.
Oh, for sure.
All right, PCE
Sorry.
data. Let's wrap this up here. So we got PCE data that came in on target. The Fed's favorite core inflation measure hit 2.6% in January. That increased 0.3% for the month and showed a 2.5% annual rate. So that's good news that it didn't come in higher. And if you exclude food and energy, core PCE rose 0.3% for the month and was at 2.6% annually. So I see this as good news. I know people have been very worried about the economy with a lot of these government job cuts and different things that are happening. I'm wondering what happens with rates here. Lisa, what do you think about the PCE data?
So I think it was, obviously, positive. I think that there's a lot to kind of shake out with it, right? I think despite where it's, the numbers are, there's a lot of consumer stuff. So consumers are concerned about the inflation. And there was a poll done by CBS News that a lot of American feels that their incomes aren't keeping pace with inflation. And so lots of discretionary spending being down. I think there's just a lot that kind of ties into it. I don't know how you guys feel, but I don't know if we're going to see rate cuts because of it. I think it's
I don't see rate cuts. I'm wondering if mortgage rates are going to react. That was my question.
Mortgage rates have reacted this week, not to this PCE. Yeah,
Right.
they've reacted mostly to some of the concerns around the labor market. Would be my tie-in to where the 10-year has gone. So the 10 years down. We record this Friday mornings. 10 years down to 4.256 today. It was hovering around 4.3. So it's been consistently moving down here for the last 5 days. We're at a low mark for the last 30 days on the 10-year for sure. And we're nearing our low mark for the last 3 months. We're at a near 4-month low on the 30-year fix. The 30-year fix is down to 6 3/4 level. Which has been, it's ever since our Danielle Hale pod, for, Realtor.com chief economist that we had on last week. Like, she stuck to her low rate prediction last week on the pod. And from that minute, you had Friday, we dropped down. And then every day we've been just moving down. It's like she cast a spell upon the real estate industry where, hey, this 30-year fixed is going to keep moving down to my target. A lot of that's driven by jobs. We had a jobs report this week. Unemployment that was the highest since the first week of January. That would be one of those elements that speaks to Lisa's, concern about how consumers, their confidence in this economy right now isn't there. It seems like the November election momentum of, hey, there's going to be an economic turnaround has dissipated some, because you don't see that stuff shake out fast enough for the everyday consumer. Eggs are back up, with the bird flu stuff. You have all these concerns in the economy right now, and they're showing up in housing data big time. Okay. So, housing sales is back down to, the 30-year low mark. We had existing home sale data come out from, NAR this week. It decreased 4.9% in January. It did slightly increase year over year for the fourth consecutive month. But we're trending at 4.08 million on, existing home sales. That's not a good trajectory on that number. I spoke to an unnamed Zillow growth advisor who deals with a lot of flex teams across the country, and said February flex teams are struggling to meet their number. Across the board, across the country, there's a lot. Like we mentioned Gary Ashton at the beginning of the show. Other markets are feeling things that your market might not be feeling. So he's like, Nashville is it is hard to get the amount of deals together that they were accustomed to the last few years. Like, it is just hard out there. So far, first 2 months in now, it's the last day of February, 2 months in, it is a challenge for consumers. Don't have that tailwind that we thought might start taking shape here early in the first quarter.
I think weather's been a factor. I think that there's some external stuff outside of the economy and rates. And I wonder if when we get to, especially in the Northeast, a little bit later in March, early April, if we start to see things really pop. I know up here, Byron, you've not been here much, but we're covered with snow still, and we've
Yeah,
had more.
I'll be up there next week. I'll find out.
We've had more snow in Boston than we have, I think, for like the past 5 years. Like it's been consistent, and we've still got snow cover right now, which definitely for us impacts both buyers and sellers.
It slows down the market. I mean, that's what happens. And, I think that's the reality of this. So, and then you look at what the Dallas Fed's talking about. I mean, they had that, they said there's evidence that suggests home prices might decline, which I thought that was pretty wild as well. I mean, the more I think about what Danielle said last week, maybe there are some headwinds here. And we're just going to have to let this play out, because I think people, they're nervous right now with everything happening with the government. And I think everyone's kind of like in this like pause mode, which usually that happens before the spring, right? This is historically how, and then all of a sudden the market pops and it's like go time. And I think agents need to be really ready for that and understand that's exactly how things are going to play out.
Right.
Well, this Dallas Fed piece that you talked about there are people, agents that already have realized this. Tampa is already under, they've dropped 1% year over year on home price. They're negative 1% on home price appreciation. So there are markets that are already feeling this on prices. This is Dallas Fed, February 25th. Evidence suggests U.S. house price / rent ratio, real home prices to decline. The ratio of house prices to rents in the U.S. has risen 20% since first quarter 2020, coinciding with the beginning of the panny. The ratio is near its previous high in 2006. So Dallas Fed is saying the future course of inflation may well be influenced by how this now lofty ratio reverts to a more usual level, and suggesting that house prices could go down. So Dallas Fed is saying this. At the same time, earlier in the week, a JP Morgan analyst said that he's heavily investing his clients' money into real estate, talking about the next couple of years. We could look back from 2026 to today and be in a real estate super cycle. He says investing in anything under replacement cost is a good bet right now. So it's home prices go down. I always say how. I can see it in Southwest Florida because inventory is so high, but these are places where you could argue they've overbuilt. These are the places where you have over 9 months of home builder supply. But in certain markets where you just haven't seen that inventory come back, the argument is how. You have 4 out of 10 homeowners who own the property cash. You've got a vast majority who are under 6 and under 5%, certainly on the 30-year fixed. And what is going to be the driving force? It might be the only thing that actually gets the 30-year fix to come down, interestingly enough, which would be a widespread labor break. That would be one of those things that inflates inventory. I almost think home prices are probably supported quite a bit by the fact that we haven't seen inventory increase
Absolutely.
as fast as we would have liked. Because when you look at new construction, it's over 9 months inventory. Existing home sales across the country are only 3.5. If you had existing home sales up at 9 months inventory, then you would be seeing prices go down pretty quickly.
Even if it gets close to 6 months inventory.
For sure.
There was some data about new home building that we need we're 1.9 million homes short, but we're only on pace to build 1.37 million this year. So it's like no surprise what's going on because we're 530,000 homes short. I mean, it's that simple. This is like supply and demand, and I think that's where you got to be. But it's all local, right, Byron? I mean, Florida's very different. Texas is very different. The Northeast is very different.
This 5 million, we've heard so many numbers between 2 to 7 million homes short, 5 million homes short across the country, all this kind of stuff. I don't believe we're 7 million homes short to meet demand in this country. I don't believe we're 5 million homes short to meet demand. I believe we're however many I don't know the number, but the next sentence has to be whatever the starter priced home is in X market. whatever the affordable price home is. The reason why there's over 9 months of inventory on new construction is they're all well over median and average price points for those markets. The majority of them are. And that's not the demand that is needed. But you can't build supply at those prices. And so we're in a weird spot with how to get the demand prices that you need, or the prices of home that you need to meet demand, rather.
So, well said.
What's our next topic?
What about this Lance Lambert tweet? You want to talk about that?
We'll do Lance Lambert, and then we'll do that AI agent in Portugal. We got to get to that.
Yes. So this tweet came out from Lance, friend of the show. I think we can say that now. And it said Elon Musk is a CEO, is a CEO in the rate-sensitive tech sector. Donald Trump comes from real estate. It's pretty clear they want lower long-term rates and borrowing costs, including lower mortgage rates. And according to Musk, DOGE is a part of their plan to lowering long-term rates. And then he goes on to say, Musk got the message loud and clear. The bond market was doubting him, demanding more evidence that the cuts were adding up fast enough to actually rein in the bloated budget deficit and curb the ever-growing national debt. Musk insisted this was a mistake that they'd come to regret. And then Lance goes on to say, if the deficit were actually cut, many analysts said it could put downward pressure on long-term rates, including mortgage rates. I mean, this goes on and on about all this here. What do you think the validity is to all this?
Well, there's no question if you take care of the deficit, you're going to see a stronger investment into America's long-term future, and that would drive down long-term rates. Now, what DOGE has done, so it's only been 30 days, but they're finding little pieces, they're finding change under the cushions, right, in the couch. And it's not enough to reduce a $2 trillion debt. Now, I'm not a budget expert, but apparently this budget that got passed, one stage of Congress is actually going to add to the deficit, which to me is absolutely insane. Like, how in the world, Republicans, can you push a budget that is adding to the deficit when at the same time you're talking about bringing the deficit down with DOGE, and then you're talking about sending $5,000 checks to people? Like, just reduce the deficit. If it doesn't reduce the deficit, don't bring it up. Don't talk about it. That should be the sole focus, is reducing the deficit, because if we want long-term rates to be reduced, the problem is you got to wait 2 years for those long-term rates to be reduced if you're really going to fight the deficit. And that doesn't play well politically. Now, and we've talked about this, what I would have some, they haven't said they're going to do this, but what I would have some concern about is if this administration, the Trump administration, gets so wrapped up in driving down rates that they start to buy mortgage-backed securities again, that they force the Fed to start buying MBSs. And that would drive down rates for sure, but you're just kicking the can down the road of, inflating this economy and this market. So it's a tough balance. I'd rather play the game of fighting the deficit and just continuing to cut spending. But, I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
What do you think,
nothing
Lisa?
more to add.
Nothing to add. All right.
Nothing more to add.
Don't pass a budget that increases the deficit. That's
not a good idea. I agree. I think that's everyone can agree on that.
About.
All right, so let's talk about this AI real estate agent. So there was a real estate brokerage firm, Porta da Frente Christie. They implemented eSelf's technology, and basically the short of it is that they make it possible for customers to get their question answered from an AI agent. Is it? And they go on. The CEO of the company says, we're not only a face that is moving and speaking while the agent responds to the user, but we also have sharing video and image capabilities. And the short of this here is that eSelf's AI technology has seen 100 million in sales based on the leads the AI agent has generated. Now, I think there's a couple things.
Any time of the day, 3 in the afternoon, 3 in the morning.
I think you got a longer work week, right? So I think think about the best agent you know, right? I mean, I've talked about this with people in like Jill Biggs has said this to me and some other folks, that one agent, the capacity of one agent, not just from a prospecting standpoint, because this is about lead generation, But once you get to about 100 sales, that's about the maximum capacity for a single person. And I'm talking about like high producers here. I've had this conversation with Jill and some other folks. I don't know if you agree, disagree with that, but that's always kind of been my, like, I could get to like 90 and like 95, but it was, and like, but getting past 100 for one person is pretty tough just with bandwidth.
And it's not a quality of life. Like that's
Yeah. I'm talking like 10, 12 hours a day.
Yep.
Right. So this person's, this AI, they got double the amount of time. Right. I wonder what the average price point is here. And I also want to know if they're only prospecting, but either way, it shows that there are plays that work to generate business. And when you get someone that follows the plays and doesn't deviate, did you guys see the Instagram post Sharon put out about the 4 different types of salespeople?
Yeah, I did.
I did not.
There's the person that wings it, right? They don't follow scripts. They have up and down months. They freestyle. I think he called it the freestyler. There's the dabbler that tries everything once and doesn't implement anything. There's the know-it-all, which is the person that early success gives them confidence. They stop learning, and the ego stays.
About year 3 for real estate agents, that the know-it-all phase is, is usually
agreed.
22, 24, 26 months in. That's kind of the range there.
The know-it-all is very real because people, they think they figured it all out and they stop learning. And then there's the Titan who learns all the time, and they train like athletes. They're trying to get better constantly. So what they've done is they've just created a Titan that doesn't think they know it all, that doesn't dabble, that doesn't freestyle. And it just demonstrates all the stuff that we talk about on the podcast here and that other proven practitioners in the marketplace are doing. It works. So I think this validates a lot of the strategies that are being taught across the world. But this person's implementing better than anybody else, or this AI is implementing better than anybody else.
In the article, and the firm is Porta da Frente. It's a Christie's. So I guess this is now owned by Compass. I would imagine that Compass would be promoting this story heavier. But anyways, it says that the technology has seen 100 million in sales based on leads the AI agent has generated. So to me, when it says that based on leads, does that mean a human is closing it? Because you could argue that, well, Zillow's creating billions of dollars in leads that are being closed. And that's all AI.
I think if you read it,
AI stuff.
What they do is they create a video human who interacts with the consumer, right? Like if you really read the article, and they can do screen sharing. And the kicker is that the AI can find out any information about the property like that.
Yeah, okay.
So that the consumer doesn't have to wait for the answers. And I think, kind of reading it fully through, what they do is the consumer is interacting with this video person. A great quote in the article is that this is doing for real estate searching what movies did for books, with making it like, instead of taking like, months to read, say, the Harry Potter, first Harry Potter book or whatever, weeks, you can condense it into 2 hours. And so what they're basically saying is that this is taking the search process and really condensing it down. So I think that AI video person interacts and then hands it over as a warm, juicy appointment to a human to go show the property, write the contract, et cetera, et cetera.
You know what's interesting? If you go to eself.ai, create your own AI video assistants for e-commerce, all the examples that they give you of these AI, assistants or advisors or agents or whatever. I mean, these are young, beautiful people. I guess they're not people. They don't
avatars, right? That's probably the right.
All the avatars are young and beautiful. They don't put anybody hit with the ugly stick on there. That's for sure.
Yeah, none of these people look like me. That's for sure.
Agents, past clients don't exist. Unless, of course, you're retiring in 2025, then consider your clients in the past. But if you're building a business for the future, your clients are your clients. This is where Mosaic comes in, the client experience operating platform for you to manage the client experience. See, cupcakes are cute. It's a nice thing to do, but it won't keep a client tied to you for life. It's not going to bring the value to their home living, home ownership experience for years to come. CRMs work for lead generation, lead capture, and lead communication, while Mosaic helps you transform how you manage those relationships moving forward with the value that they actually need in their home ownership lifespan. So don't wait. Check out mosaic.io or find the link down below.
Oh.
It'll be interesting because
Fucking
this
A.
AI is talking about properties, and I'm ignoring it and moving on in a way that would in like Massachusetts, a lot of that stuff would require a real estate license. So I think kind of like when you think back to, were either of you guys there? There was a conference that I was at, and we got pulled into a room, and I ended up signing a contract with a company that did AI-based phone call prospecting through my database. We did it for a short period of time, and then I was
Yeah,
like,
I remember that.
then I canceled it because I was like, you know what, this is going to be regulated very quickly. So I pulled out, and I suspect we're going to see in the U.S. in particular that we'll see some regulations come out, because when you're talking about
This will be how NAR survives. If they can make the laws in a way where we all have to get our AI bots licensed, then they may have 2.5 million members. Forget 1.5.
Don't get me on a rant about NAR today.
Listen, I wouldn't be fearful of this. I'd lean all the way into it.
I agree.
100%.
Yeah.
For the short term.
I'd lean all the way into this. And if you lean into it early, you're going to be well protected, not only for the short term, I believe, but for the long term. I retweeted this on my X account at Byron Lazine if you want to connect on X. Jason Kalkanis, who's a Silicon Valley angel investor, one of the first investors in Uber, who's on the All In podcast, retweeted his post. Hiring a new person is more work than using AI to make the existing team faster. So agents who are using AI, they're going to work faster. They're going to do more deals. They're going to be, a better advisor to their clients. Teams and brokerages and even solo agents who are building around them, who hire only people who can work. Listen, if your employee, whether it be a virtual assistant or in-person W2, whatever the case may be, if the people working around you are not getting proficient using AI tools, they're not going to last more than 12 to 24 months if you want to grow. If you want to grow, if you don't want to grow, if you still want to, use a newspaper as opposed to, finding your information online, like if you're caught in the past, if you haven't figured out the new rules post August 17th, then yeah, you're probably not going to care if people are able to use AI tools. But everybody in your organization, everybody around you, everybody that works, better be using and becoming great at these tools, or you're just going to be simply outdated and you're going to be way behind because this thing is moving very fast.
Yeah, and Ty-in, I wanted Tom to kind of chat because in our group text, Tom passed up a listing referral to us up here in Massachusetts, and where the referral came from was super cool. Like I'm actually really, really impressed. So Tom, share where that came from.
Well, I was blown away when this happened. So we had they inbounded on our website, right? They go in, we get an email. Hey, I'm looking to relocate to whatever town. My wife is getting a job at this place. There's about a 75% chance. So I get the person on the phone, talk through it all. And I always ask, and I think this is something knowledge brokers should be asking every time you get these like inbound inquiries, like, hey, how did you hear about our team? How did you hear about me? Because if you're not tracking that, you're not running a strong business. So he goes, believe it or not, I searched ChatGPT and who was the best agent in the area. And you came up, and then I saw all your reviews and I checked out the videos. And this is the second call we've gotten this week. Now, this was the only one that said, I looked on ChatGPT to find you. And I was like, wow, we must be doing something right. And I think that's also, with the stuff from like BAM and the commitment to like video we've been doing videos weekly to our database since 2016.
So
it was shocking to me. And he also knew all our sales stats, by the way, too. So, I mean, that was pretty interesting.
One of the things Vanessa, who's our senior editor at BAM, figured out very early was if you want to be relevant on ChatGPT, somebody in your organization needs to be feeding it every day. And so like we do that from the BAM perspective. And then you want to do the same thing from your real estate agent business team brokerage perspective. You want to continuously be communicating with ChatGPT and feeding it information about your organization so that when those search opportunities come up, GPT has, that inquiry came up that Tom's referring to, you have a chance there. So it's not like, reviews still matter, of course. There's no question about it. But content is going to matter more than ever. Content and information, because the information has become accessible so easily and so quickly. Like a consumer can now quickly kind of break who's selling the most, who's doing this, who has the most information. And if you don't have any information out there, that conversation with the it's just not going to be, you're not going to be in that conversation. So it's really important because the user's prompting it to give them the best information. It's not like Google where there's a visual, like I'm just going to scroll through and see whose profile picture I like the best, who has the most reviews. It's a lot different now. Brand and AI, those are the two things that are going to protect your business in the future.
I agree with both those.
Yeah. We've talked about that a lot on the show. So, I mean, but I was, and I think that the lesson is it takes time, right? I mean, like you can't build up that catalog of content in a short period of time. So, it's the long game, right? I mean, you want to build a long lasting business. You got to start somewhere. You can start today and just keep doing it every day. Consistency isn't, I mean, some of these things we put out there, they're not all great videos, right? I mean, Byron, I talk to Eric all the time, like what was it? Tammy Pack said, you either get like a unicorn or a donkey when you're putting out,
yes, I remember that.
You're putting out content. It's not always going to hit, but when you're consistent and you're delivering a message that resonates with the consumer and you've got results to back it up, over time, that's going to win. And I think that's one of the things. Remember when they started like posting people's sales data and agents got so bent out of shape? They're like, why should consumers know how much real estate I'm selling? I'm like, they probably should know that so they can make a good decision. And that stuff matters. So, and I use ChatGPT every single day. So, I mean, that's that helps.
Constantly, you should be finding more and more ways to use it for your business, whether it's, I have it open when I'm doing email communication. Certainly there's a lot of marketing benefits to doing that. But it's not just getting a generic email. We actually just did this in a BAM mastermind last night. We were working on some stuff where you want to humanize it. You want it to be speaking in a human language. So that comes down to just building the skill, building the muscle like anything else. But ChatGPT is one tool. There's a variety of AI driven tools. Like I think all of us are on House Whisper, right?
Yes.
House
We're
Whisper.
not.
You're not on it, Tom?
We are not.
Well, why? What happened there?
We're it's on the agenda, Byron. We'd like to do things one at a time in our company.
Wow. So. You should just do this one immediately. I wouldn't even wait. House Whisper is is basically would you call it a plugin, Lisa, to your CRM?
Yeah, that's a great way to explain it.
It's a plugin where basically agents do not have to update their CRM if they're using.
They don't have to log in to do the updates, and they don't have to type them. It kind of changes how they can do it with whether the AI calls them and they dictate the update.
Does it remove 80% of the physical work of keeping an up-to-date?
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm just clarifying because the agents still do have to dictate it.
They have to breathe. Yes. As a human, you have to breathe and have a pulse. Yes. Lisa, you are 100% right. You can't be a dead corpse laying on a beach somewhere and get passive income. That doesn't exist yet.
Particularities matter in my existence. So, yeah.
Details are important.
Yeah.
The point is, the manual inputting of data into our CRM has been dramatically reduced for obviously those agents that care to pay attention enough and believe in details and all of that.
And that's the kicker. It's been fascinating to watch here because we made it available to all of our agents, and watching those that have leaned into it and adapted
They're doing more deals.
They're doing more deals. They're, I think, finding a better quality of like balance, not having to log in all the time and like, all of that stuff. I wish more of my agents would lean into it. So it's kind of like you said, watching those that are adapting to the AI and the new tech versus those that aren't, and the differences that are shaking out is just crazy fascinating to me.
Yeah, well, I think there's going to be, listen, I know there's a lot of agents out there right now, and I talk to a lot of agents every week, obviously, across the country, that are struggling with this market. And I do think that gap is going to continue to widen, as we've seen. And to me, the gap that is separate, or the group that is separating themselves, are really integrating all these tools to make their business easier, to have that peace of mind. And the ones that are finding this business to be cumbersome are not letting go of what got them here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sometimes you have to let go of what got you here to get to that next level. And some of the systems and processes that you've built do need to be torn down and reimagined and rebuilt. I think that the teams and the agents that grow exponentially and their business continues to thrive are the ones that are always looking to make their process more efficient, make their workflows better. They're not, just because I did this, and we all know of an agent in our office or in our market who's doing the same things that they did in 1999 or in 2009, and they can't give it up because of the uncomfort it would bring them to grow into that next phase or that next process and learn something new. So
pressure makes diamonds or dust. It's my
no
favorite
pressure, no
one.
diamonds. Yeah. All right.
there you go.
I got to go. Have a great week, everybody.
Have a great weekend. See
Bye,
you guys.
guys.
Thank you so much for checking out this week's Knowledge Brokers podcast. If you want to take what we're doing here at BAM and use it in your own business, join us over at School. We just switched BAMX into the #1 education and community platform. Go to school.com/BAMX or hit the link in the description, school.com/BAMX. I'll see you in the community.